In Outer Worlds, you explore a vibrant universe where your gameplay shapes the fate of the entire colonies. This RPG from Obsidian Entertainment blends surprisingly good humor, a lot of storytelling and solid gameplay, offering quality action-adventure RPG. It's also one of the few games where you can actually finish off people to finish quests or falter factions completely. All this accompanied by a faction moral system. Core gameplay wraps around the same style of gameplay as modern Fallout games. You explore a handful of planets and other locations in space, though many planets have multiple locations. These are all made with purpose, and attention to detail is extremely good design-wise. This is exactly how Starfield should have done their exploration system. You visit naturally all of these locations if you're doing all the missions and meet some interesting NPCs. Questing took main priority for me, and the game has a ton of side quests from companion, faction, tasks and main quests to choose from. Many of these quests involve multiple objectives like investigation of crime or crash site. Retrieving items by enemies is necessary, which is often I used my charisma build and talk my way through, or at times making crucial decisions in side story or story missions that affect the outer worlds. Questing and exploration show you the best side of the game, which is the NPCs and speaking with them. Usually I find the dialogue that tries to be funny cringy as hell, but this game balances the dialogue perfectly. There's also a ton of stats that you can use in conversation, from lying, intimidation, tech, charm, intelligence and a combination of many. These choices can have grave outcomes on large scale. It's always best to think about what you are going to do, or who are you going to piss off and who you want to befriend. Depending on what companions you have with you, maximum allowed being 2 companions. Also talk to the other NPCs and with each others. Combat is one of the weakest points in the game. Not saying it's bad, but compared to everything else it's simplistic and there's not a lot of variation. You can select from 4 different weapon types when level up the stats and use one of those 4, from melee, small guns, long guns and heavy guns. There are perks that can slightly change combat, but not much. The game also has its own watts system from Fallout series, which is the time dilation, where you enter bullet time and gain specific bonuses. Sneaking works similarly as in other games like Skyrim, giving increased damage from stealth, which involves crouching around. You start the game off by creating a character and selecting stats. As you level up, you get 10 stat points to freely set to skills. 150 is the maximum per skill. Stats are put into subsections in which you can raise all the stats to 50 by only raising the subsection level. For example, all 3 dialogue skills, persuade, intimidate and lie skills, level up to 50 if you train the dialogue subsection. After that you will individually level up these stats. You also get perk every time you level up. You can place these to passive bonuses like a damage bonus if no companions run faster, carry more, etc. There's also fault system. When you do something or are done damage enough from example certain type of enemy like Gainit, you can accept a fault. This means you lose skill points for rest of the game, but you receive a perk point for accepting a fault. Every perk system also works with companions. While you level up with them, they have their own small perk trees. This cannot be said to be a looter shooter, but you do collect a ton of loot in this game. Like with Fallout games, you first collect all guns, armor, meds, everything to survive and sell. After you have found your endgame weapon, there's not much point in looting. Usually I just take ammunition so I can head onwards. This is a shame, as rendering loot pointless makes you sometimes miss key items which you have to then backtrack and pick up. Writing in Outer Worlds is sharp and witty. There's a lot of dark and shades of grey humor without trying too much. It feels natural and things just happen sometimes. Writing and voice acting reminds me a lot of Knights of the Old Republic, and its sequel, Knights of the Old Republic too. Voice delivery is done very well, and although facial animation doesn't always match one with the speech, everything is delivered and attention to detail. Dialogue is also kept nicely short so as not to bore the player. Visually, the game has this retro-futuristic style in many of its designs. Weaponry is boringly designed, though there are some individual weapons with cool designs. But the environmental design is supreme. Every place has just as lived-in or wild atmospheric as designers have wanted. A lot of color has also been used, and the places look vivid and honestly just straight up beautiful. Some space stations are full of scraps, tilted signs and a lot of neon lights. Planets range from neon violet skies to unnatural green grass. I'm sure some people do not like this vibrancy of the game, but you can't please everyone. NPC designs are also memorable. Everyone has their own face and clothing if they are worth talking to. Animal life in the game is very well designed, although the number of different species is way too low. There are no performance problems on lower-end hardware and consoles. Some people dislike the design style of the game, although I personally think the art style will make it last much longer than very realistic graphics ever would. Loot and combat are problem areas, but nowhere near enough of problem to not to play this. They are more of sprinkles that were never placed on the cake. On PC, you also have to go and disable mouse acceleration from the .ini file, as the option doesn't appear in the options menu. I would not have played this with such intensity if the mouse acceleration had been on, pissing into my cornflakes. What mouse acceleration does is literally what it says. The more you move your mouse, the faster the camera rotates. But these are small problems, extremely small when looking at the whole story of the game has to tell. World building, game feel and audio performances. Overall, a main example of quality first-person shooter RPG that you can play multiple times and have drastically different options.